The sharky styling and classy feel of the Lexus IS will be enough to convince many compact executive BMW 3 Series class buyers of its merits before they even venture aboard, especially now that prices have been sharpened and specifications improved. Once you are behind the wheel, the build quality looks strong and the car handles with a degree of sporty composure. The engines aren't the best out there and space in the back could be more generous, but excellent safety, robust security and the famed Lexus dealer network all loom large in the plus column. For compact executive buyers fed up with Germany's usual suspects, the Lexus IS would appear to be the default choice. Beautifully styled, robustly built and flawlessly reliable, with a dealer network routinely steeped in praise by every customer satisfaction survey going, the junior Lexus appears to tick all the boxes. So why hasn't it made more of an impact? Is it this market's best kept secret? A car that would be capable of breaking the BMW 3 Series, Audi A4, Mercedes C-Class monopoly if only more people knew about it? Or is it really a second-tier operator destined to gaze longingly up at the top table along with assorted Saabs, Volvos and Jaguars? The lack of a wide engine range and the absence of an estate derivative from launch doesn't help the Japanese brand. But in more recent times there have been signs that the marque is going to be doing a bit more to put the second generation version of this underestimated product a bit more on the map. First we had the high-performance ISF version, a car too expensive to garner many sales, but important as a halo model. Much the same applies to the stylish IS 250C convertible. Then in the mainstream range we had some wide-ranging improvements, including higher equipment levels, price reductions and some styling tweaks for a sharper look. As ever, two mainstream engines are offered, one petrol, one diesel. The petrol unit is a beefy 2.5 litre V6 with 202 brake horsepower that's quiet, smooth and melodic, but needs to be worked quite hard if it's to offer up its best performance. The diesel alternative is a lot noisier, as you would expect. It's a 175 brake horsepower 2.2 litre unit, but it does offer up 400 newton meters of torque as opposed to 249 newton meters. So you'll not want for pulling power. The diesel offers all this up from just 2000 RPM. Now the diesel makes 60 from rest in 8.9 seconds, while the petrol manages the same increment in 8.1 seconds. So both units offer up the speed to match comparable German rivals. The engine range won't whet the appetite in quite the way that, say, that of a BMW 3 Series will, but the IS has more definite appeal in other areas. Fast steering and limpet-like grip make this a fine car to hurry along in. The suspension setup is rather firm, very un-Lexus-like, which is great for spirited driving but can become a little wearing at low speeds on poorer surfaces. Road noise is the only refinement issue, as engine noise and wind noise keep themselves very much to themselves as far as the IS's tranquil cabin is concerned. Sport models get a gearbox with shorter ratios so that you can make the most of the V6 engine. The most notable recent upgrade is the provision of Lexus's advanced handling and safety system, called Vehicle Integrated Dynamics Management, a standard across the range on all models. Now this coordinates the car's ABS and electronic brake force distribution, that's EBD, with its traction control, the TRC system, and its vehicle stability control, VSC, coordinating it all with the electric power steering, EPS, to provide smooth, optimal assistance as the vehicle reaches its performance limits. The second generation IS dates back to 2005 and it's certainly distinctive. Try imagining this car wearing an Audi or a Saab badge. You just can't. Now, more recent versions have received tweaks to the bumpers, the front grille, the door mirrors and the rear lights, but otherwise the El Finesse design theme remains intact. Now, it's a design that's taut and muscular with origami sharp swage lines and a painstakingly precise approach to detail. The overall effect is sporty and unapologetically Japanese. It's also beautifully built. Take the gap here between the bumper and the adjacent body panel. It's just 0.35 of a millimetre. Inside, the interior is also constructed with customary Lexus quality. Some of the materials may lack the luxurious feel common to some German rivals, but there's never any doubt that the IS will stand the test of time. Technophobes like me will welcome the absence of complex computer control interfaces. In terms of space, well, those at the front are well catered for, but those at the rear, if there are long-legged people sitting in front of you, may feel a slight lack of space. There's a 378-litre boot, which isn't huge, but it does have this useful ski hatch for longer items to poke through. Now, most Lexus IS sales are made in the £22,000 to £30,000 bracket, and you'll be paying up at the upper end of that spectrum if you go for the pretty IS 250C convertible. Now, that represents a saving of between £2,000 to £3,000 over fancy German alternatives, but the IS still looks the more upmarket product. Now, the ISF Super Saloon is a different cost question entirely, up at around £50,000, but it's still okay value compared to a BMW M3. Now, obvious rivals, apart from the usual Audi A4, BMW 3 Series, Mercedes C-Class triumvirate, include cars like Alfa Romeo's 159, Saab's 93 and Jaguar's X-Type. Now, Lexus customers never go short on equipment, and even the entry-level IS has a quota of features to put German rivals to shame. The standard 13-speaker CD stereo system is a cracker, and you also get climate control, cruise control, tinted glass, electric mirrors and electric windows all round. There's also great safety provision too, 8 airbags, stability control, traction control, ABS with brake assist and electronic brake force distribution. There's also superb security provision with locking systems to confound the cleverest crooks. Running costs are crucial to most buying decisions in the compact executive sector, and most manufacturers have made significant strides in keeping them down. Now, crucially for the market sector into which the IS is pitched, the 175 brake horsepower 2.2 litre common rail diesel version now offers improved CO2 emissions. The figure's down from 163 to 148 grams per kilometre of CO2. And that's very important because it shifts this car down to tax excise band C. At the pumps, the diesel is of course the most cost effective. You should get around 50 miles to the gallon on a regular basis. But then it doesn't have much competition. The 2.5 litre petrol V6 manages just 29 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle. And again, it's 231 grams per kilometre of CO2 showing seems rather high, given the engine's 202 brake horsepower output. A 215 brake horsepower BMW 325i, for example, returns 170 grams per kilometre of CO2 and manages 40 miles to the gallon. As an ownership proposition, the IS redeems itself with strong residual values helped by its relative exclusivity compared to fleet favourites like the 3 Series and A4. Many purchasers in the compact executive sector base their decisions entirely on specs and figures. Hence, Lexus's recent decision to improve equipment levels and lower prices as part of the most recent package of IS range improvements. The stronger running costs of the diesel variant that many will choose are welcome too and timely. It is, after all, easy to overlook the Lexus IS in a market sector that's dominated by BMW, Audi and Mercedes. But this car definitely deserves more attention than it sometimes gets. Perhaps it can't quite eclipse the big-hitting Teutonic alternatives, but the fact that this car is so good and yet isn't German will be enough to convince many weary executives yearning for a change.